Hi everyone, Dr. Nemechek again. I want to touch on kind of a big 10,000 foot view kind of concept for health and illness. All right, and there's various approaches, but what's coming down to is you can pretty much say that everybody on the planet dies of only four things. Okay, and if you understand that, it can help you it can help you kind of with your strategy to remain healthy. So if there's only four things you got to worry about, then it's easier to stay focused. All right. The first thing is genetic disorder. Rather ones that are severe, always present. Many times these occur in childhood and the children die. Now they might have a funny heart, they got a metabolic problem, and it's rather severe and they don't live very long. Okay, sometimes these happen later in life too, and they are just unstoppable because of a fixed genetic issue. Second is the environment. Car wreck, gunshot, freeze to death, tiger eats you. And so, for most people living in a suburban environment, I would put it that way, you wear your seatbelt. When you drive your car, you don't stand on the top rung of a ladder. If you're on a farm, you're careful about being around the tractor and the augers, and a whole variety of things. So accidents. Third, an infection. Now, outside of more industrially advanced countries, malaria, tuberculosis, huge cause of death in people. And they're working on those. They're constantly trying to get vaccines to help both of those. Infections are a major cause of cancer worldwide. So liver cancer, stomach cancer, cervical cancer, head and neck cancer, lymphomas are generally felt to be triggered by infectious organisms, right? Human papillomavirus, HPV, causes cervical cancer. Most people in America have heard of that. And then so if you don't have a severe genetic disorder, you're careful you don't have an accident, you're doing what you can do to avoid infections, whether that be vaccines or taking antibiotics. If you get, tuberculosis or or bacterial pneumonia, or you wear a mask because you're trying to avoid COVID. So genetic accidents, infections, you're doing your best to avoid those. Everything else is inflammation. Everything. Strokes, heart attacks, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, the vast majority, 85-90% of cancers, okay, all inflammatory. All right, meaning without elevated and persistent levels of inflammation, they do not occur. And these things that are very common now, you see them on TV all the time. You're hearing about all these people getting cancer at younger ages. So they got to have mammograms earlier and colonoscopies earlier. People getting diabetes. In the 80s, it was rare to see somebody under 60 with type 2 diabetes. Now it's not unusual in the 30s, all right? It's from inflammation, and these things rarely occurred before 1900. Why? We hadn't developed this inflammatory environment that we're living in now, okay? So when you hear about people getting sick and you want to stay healthy, and you kind of maybe, reflect on your parents or your grandparents, or like, mom has a little diabetes and she had that stroke, and dad's starting to get Parkinson's, and he had prostate cancer. The things you're really worrying about are inflammatory things, okay? So you don't try to prevent all those unique things. What you try to do is just keep your inflammation low. I'm not going to go into all of that here, but it's just this general strategy. Because, if your parent dies in a automobile accident, you don't really think you're predisposed to an automobile accident, right? You aren't looking at that. You're looking at these other things that seem to just happen with age, but really no, they happen with inflammation, okay? And, my basic approach is, most of the inflammation, the biggest stressor of inflammation you can get is from an imbalance of intestinal bacteria. And so in adults, we use rifaximin to keep that balanced. The next, I think, biggest supply is the high omega-6 oils, grain-based oils and the high omega-6 grains. We feed the livestock, okay? Those omega-6s are the molecules that turn on inflammation. It's like you're putting kerosene in your food, okay? Fortunately, though, you don't have to really so much try to get rid of every ounce of that stuff in your diet. I mean, if you're cooking with soy oil, start cooking with canola instead. Canola's not inflammatory, for instance. But the olive oil, I recommend 2 tablespoons a day, okay? That will help block all of that. So you can do that. Now we have other sources you got to worry about is smoke, pollution, these 2.5 micron particles, so you got to start worrying about where you live, maybe the quality of air in your home. Maybe you're going to need, we were testing in my own home. We got a little device and we found that these 2.5 microparticles were elevated, as well as some organic compounds were leaking out of my stove. Okay, so we had to we got rid of the gas range, we put in an electric induction oven, and I even got my air exchange unit fixed. Now the air in my house is fine, but my air was inflammatory, okay? So you got to start hunting around. Microplastics, they're another source. It's kind of overwhelming, I understand that. But my whole point here in this video is inflammation, inflammation, inflammation. Wear your seatbelt. Don't stand on top rung on a ladder. That'll take care of most accidents. If you're sick, take some antibiotics. Consider vaccines if they're appropriate. And then focus on inflammation. And that's a key to help keeping you healthy. And if you're doing it for a long time and you don't seem to notice anything, and you're just like, I don't know, I don't feel any different. I'm doing all this anti-inflammatory stuff. That's because it's working, okay? You don't want to notice anything. Okay, noticing something like my blood sugars are up, I got skin cancer, or whatever, that's a sign that you didn't do enough and that the inflammation was present. So I hope that helps you all. Everybody take care of yourselves. Low inflammatory life. Right on.